The world has become soft, but life hasn't. Comfort is everywhere, yet meaning feels rare. Anxiety is rising, discipline is fading, and too many people are drifting without a code to live by. Long before modern life, the Vikings faced chaos, danger, and uncertainty every day. And still, they lived with purpose, strength, and honor. Their world was harsher than ours, yet their mindset was unbreakable. And that is exactly why their values matter now more than ever. Because before a Viking ever raised a sword, he knew who he was fighting for. For Vikings, family was the foundation of life. Identity, protection, and honor were rooted in kinship. A person without family ties had no safety, no reputation, and no future. Loyalty to family was not emotional, it was existential. Family meant shared labor, shared risk, and shared survival. Men, women, and children all carried responsibility. Women managed farms, wealth, and social standing, while men traveled, traded, and fought. Strength came from unity, not isolation. The Vikings remind us that independence is meaningless without loyalty. Strong families and tight communities create individuals who can withstand pressure and chaos. But family alone could not protect the Vikings' name. That required something more dangerous. Honor defined everything in Viking life. Your reputation followed you across oceans and generations. To be known as untrustworthy or cowardly was worse than death. A Viking understood that life was temporary, but dishonor was permanent. Oaths were sacred. Promises were binding. If you gave your word, you were expected to uphold it, no matter the cost. Justice was enforced through assemblies called things, where disputes were settled publicly and consequences were unavoidable. In an age of excuses and disappearing accountability, Viking honor challenges us to stand by our word and accept responsibility, even when it's uncomfortable. But honor means nothing if fear controls your choices. Vikings lived with the certainty that death was inevitable. Rather than deny it, they embraced it. Belief in Valhalla and an honorable afterlife freed warriors from paralyzing fear. A person who accepts death cannot be controlled by threats. This acceptance created courage, not recklessness, but resolve. Vikings crossed unknown seas, faced brutal winters, and stood their ground in battle, because fear no longer ruled them. Today, we fear failure, judgment, and uncertainty more than death itself. The Vikings teach us that courage begins when fear stops making our decisions. But courage without discipline leads only to chaos. Viking life demanded discipline. Farming rocky land, surviving freezy winters, and sailing open seas required consistency and endurance. There was no room for laziness, only preparation. Physical strength was built through labor and combat, while mental strength came from law, storytelling, and tradition. Vikings trained daily because survival depended on it. Motivation fades, discipline remains. Vikings didn't wait to feel ready, they acted because they had to. Growth begins when comfort ends. Yet even strength fades, unless it serves something greater. Vikings believed the greatest battle was not only fought against enemies, but against the self. Emotional control, restraint, and endurance were admired traits. Losing control, especially in anger, was seen as a weakness, not strength. A Viking who could not control himself was already defeated. Restraint was critical in disputes. A man who acted impulsively risked feuds that could destroy families for generations. True strength meant knowing when to act and when to wait. Revenge was expected, but reckless revenge was despised. Today we are ruled by impulses, anger, dopamine, distraction. Vikings remind us that mastering yourself is harder than mastering others and far more powerful. But self-control alone wasn't enough. A Viking had to adapt or disappear. Vikings were not just warriors, they were master adapters. When raids failed, they traded. When lands were barren, they explored. When enemies resisted, they settled, learned, and integrated. Survival required flexibility. The Vikings didn't survive because they were brutal. They survived because they evolved. They adopted foreign technologies, languages, and customs. In many regions, Vikings became farmers, merchants, and rulers. Adaptation, not aggression, ensured the longevity. Those who refuse to change vanish from history. The world is changing faster than ever now. Vikings remind us that rigidity is a slow death. Growth belongs to those willing to learn, adjust, and move forward. And when adaptability meets purpose, something powerful can be created. Vikings believed true immortality came through memory. Deeds lived on through stories and sagas. To be remembered for courage, loyalty, and honor was the highest achievement. Every action mattered because it shaped how your name would be spoken after you were gone. Legacy wasn't fame, it was meaning, earned through choices. One day, your life will be reduced to the impact you left behind. Vikings challenge us to live deliberately, so our actions are worth remembering. So what does it truly mean to be a Viking today? You don't need armor. You don't need a longship. You need principles. Protect your family, guard your honor, face fear with courage, choose discipline over comfort, live for a legacy. The Viking Age may be history, but the Viking mindset is timeless and is waiting for those strong enough to live by it. The Norse world is deeper, darker, and wiser than most people ever explore. Its stories are filled with lessons about strength, sacrifice, discipline, and purpose. Lessons that still matter today. If these values speak to you, then you already belong here. Please follow this channel for more from the Norse world. Viking mindset, ancient wisdom, warrior discipline, mythology, and the lessons our modern world has forgotten.